Today I should not have left my phone. So today I am going to be doing my August wrap up. So basically just talking about all of the books that I have read that I did read in August, or that I finished before September 1st. Because I do have one book that I read, mostly within September, but then I finished it mostly within August, but then I finished it on September 1st. So it will not be in this video, it will be in next month's video. So, the very, very first book that I finished in August of this year is, let's scoot over this way so I can put the books up there, because I do not own, I don't own physical copies of any of these books, so I can't hold them up. So the first book is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I know it's not Nig, and I know that it isn't just Ng. I know there's something to do with that G there. My best guess is Ng. Little Fires Everywhere was, I gave it 4 stars. 4 stars is kind of just my default rating. It means that I enjoyed a book, but for whatever reason cannot give it a 5 star. 5 stars used to be my default number of stars, but I don't think it's a good default. So basically, to be a 5 star, you have to be special in some way, essentially. Yeah, Little Fires Everywhere is about a lot. It takes place in the neighborhood outside of Cleveland called Shaker Heights, which is sort of an affluent sort of neighborhood. I know it best as where all the old people live, but that's mostly because my grandparents live in Shaker Heights, which is what drew me to this book, and also just the fact that I'd heard a lot of great things about it. So it mainly follows 2 families. One is a single mother and her daughter who have lived all over the United States, moving around regularly, but now the mom says, we're going to settle down here so that you can finish high school, and have something of a normal life, essentially. And so, because, you know, moving around a lot, it's not super great in childhood. And then it also follows another family who are Shaker Heights natives, essentially, and who are a very affluent, very rich family that the single mother and her daughter are renting have a house from. And so it mostly follows the daughter's life of the single mother and daughter pair as she goes through high school, but it deals with the adoption of an Asian baby, I believe a Chinese baby, that was left abandoned, and her birth mother then, basically just as this baby had gotten adopted by a white couple who were unable to conceive just as she was adopted, the baby's birth mother comes in and has sort of just pulled her life together and realized that she's made a very snap decision, um, that she wants to be able to um, raise her daughter on her own because she can now. And I believe she was in that sort of stage that you can sometimes be in with depression, where it just feels like you have one option and it's not the option that you want, and if there was literally any other option, you would do literally anything else. And then once that passes, then realizing, oh, I had all of these other options. And so it deals a lot with the court case surrounding who is legally going to be the guardian of this child, and if the mother of this child, I can't remember any names, unfortunately, is going to even be able to have any contact with her daughter. And I don't think it really answers any questions. It just sort of lays them all out and has things happen, and you get to figure out based on what happens what you think is right, and if you think what happened was right, and what would have happened in a perfect world, and all of that. So yes, so the next, I actually finished that on August 1st. So next there is a bit of a gap because this is a book that's very short. I think it was about an hour altogether as an audiobook. But this is a book that I had some issues with. I had some issues getting through. And it's God and the State by Mikhail Bakunin, who is an anarchist from, I believe, the mid to late 1800s. And this is basically his... I don't think this is actually a book that he wrote and finished. I think that the story behind this is that manuscripts for a book were found after his death, and that they were published posthumously, and that's how that happened. It's just a mess. It's a hot mess. It's just a hot mess. Not really very cogent. Not really very understandable. It does not set up a point and then get it across particularly well. So unfortunately, I do not actually have anything to say about what it is that Mikhail Bakunin has to say about God and the State, other than God bad. Because really, that's about as much as I was able to get into my brain. Because this is just not a very well written book. And I finished that on August 21st. So, the next book that I read in the month is, I forgot to do this with God and the State, but, is A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahir Mafi. And I really liked it. I know that I mentioned I gave it 4 stars. I gave God and the State 2 stars. I know that I mentioned in my last video that I am pretty burnt out on romances between men and women, because it's basically all you have. In most mainstream books, it gets really tiring really quickly. However, I don't know what it, well, I do know what it is, but reading not just about this romance, but also about, the main character, and again, I do not remember a single name. I remember Ocean. I do remember Ocean, but that's basically the only name I remember. But it's basically, I really enjoyed reading about the main character is a Muslim girl, and she is a hijabi, um, and she is living in the United States. She's Iranian as well. She's living in the United States just after the attack on 9/11. And so she is dealing with a lot of Islamophobia and racism and xenophobia because she is very, very visibly um, a Muslim woman, because she wears her hijab and she refuses to take off her hijab. She's, which she shouldn't. Well, she can if she wants to, but she shouldn't have to take off her hijab to feel safe in the United States. And she's a very, very stubborn character and she's very strong-willed. And so she deals with the Islamophobia and xenophobia and racism of her classmates, and then also has this romance with a white boy who goes to her school. And I really enjoyed it. It's like basically every romance written between a man and a woman right now. For me personally, you could completely take it out of the book, and I would not really mind. I wouldn't say it would make it better, because I think that her relationship with Ocean is a very important part of her growth as a character, and her ability to sort of soften in a sense, because obviously when you face a lot of prejudice, you tend to build up this shell around you as a defense, and hers is starting to become an issue because she has a lot of assumptions about what everyone is like, because for the most part that's been what everyone's like. And I really enjoyed that. And I finished that August 22nd. And then also August 22nd, I finished Arusha and the End of Time, which is one of the Rick Riordan Presents, or just Riordan Presents? One of the two. It's one of the books in the imprint that Rick Riordan has created for own voices, mythology-based stories in the vein of stuff like Percy Jackson and Magnus Chase and all that stuff. And it's because really the books are just going to be better for having been written by someone who already has experiences with the culture that is being portrayed, and in the case of a lot of non-white cultures and their mythos and their religions and their folklore and all of that, it's a great deal. It's incredibly important. The people writing these stories have the personal sort of connection to it. And so Arusha is based on Hindu mythology. It is about a young girl, I believe about 12, middle school aged, who is the reincarnation of one of the Pandava sons from Hindu mythology, and it is about her releasing, what is it, not the god of death, the god of chaos, the god of evil? No, actually, I don't think he's a god. He is the sleeper. I don't think he's actually... Okay, he's not a god, but he is trying to wake up the god of destruction. That's what's going on. And so it's her meeting, rather than, in this version, rather than there being the Pandava sons, as there were in the original myths, and as is set up in the book, as all the other reincarnations of the Pandavas have been. They've all been sons and brothers. In Arusha, her current line of Pandavas, her current set of Pandavas, are all Pandava sisters. And so they're all girls, and it's her meeting the first of her new sisters, and then also trying to stop the sleeper from awakening or releasing the god of destruction, basically, and stopping the utter and complete destruction of time. And saving her family, her mother, because she is raised by a single mother. And she is also the daughter of a god, in the same way that in Percy Jackson, all of the kids at Camp Half-Blood are the children of gods. And I really enjoyed it. I am starting to kind of feel the distance with middle grade, just because it does not feel like it was written for me. It very much feels like it was written for a younger audience, but I really enjoyed the story itself, and the story itself was amazing, and I love Aru, and I love her sister, whose name I can't remember again. But yeah, I loved it. I gave that 4 stars. And I also finished that on the 22nd. And so the next book that I finished on August 25th, and I gave 4 stars, is The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith. I do feel it pertinent to add that I started reading this book, according to Goodreads, on December 20th, 2017. So, I believe that's basically just after, or not just after, but a little after I saw the movie. And so there's a lot of differences between this and the movie. But I really enjoyed The Price of Salt. I really enjoyed just reading about 2 women. And while there is a lot of angst because this is the 1950s, and the love interest Carol is currently going through a divorce and having some issues with the she's having a bit of issue with getting custody of her young daughter Rindy, which is not helped by the fact that she is not really openly a lesbian, but she is not completely in the closet. She has had relationships with other women, and she is currently having a relationship with another woman, and that is going to cause issues with the divorce and with custody, because gay people for a long time were not considered fit parents. We are still by some not considered to be fit parents, and so it can really hurt a child custody case, especially in the 1950s. And it was also written by, I believe Patricia Highsmith was a lesbian. I'm not certain. But it was just really nice to read, even if some of the stuff is sort of out of date, about two lesbians written by a lesbian. Next book that I finished on August 28th is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. For now, I've given it 3 stars. I have a lot of thoughts, but I did enjoy reading it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed being along for the ride. And so I have a lot of thoughts, and I am going to have to give this a reread in the near future, or probably next year. Probably give it a bit of space and then give it a reread. Because right now I'm just not really, I don't have any actual cognizant, coherent thoughts about this book, which I finished on August 28th. I feel like I'm saying all of these twice, but okay. And then the last book that I finished in August is I finally got around to reading Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I remember being in high school and being so excited about this book when it first came out, and then never reading it. And I finally have. I finished it on the 30th. I both started and finished it on the 30th, and I really enjoyed it. I don't actually have a lot to say about the book, other than just that it was fun and I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed just being along for the ride, essentially. So I gave that 4 stars, and basically just, it's good. I have no other thoughts, really, but it's good. I do have another thought. I need to go to Wales. That is my thought about this book, is that I need to go to Wales. Okay, so that is it for my August wrap-up. I'm going to be recording a TBR soon, and my first video should be done rendering right now, so you should have hopefully already have seen it. And so I'll probably edit this tomorrow, and so you'll probably also see this tomorrow from when it's being recorded and from when my last video is going up in like 2 seconds. So, and then I'll also probably be recording again tomorrow to do my TBR. So that's it. I will see you soon. Bye.